Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I have award-winning longarm quilter and pattern designer, Jackie Brown. She's going to be talking us through a couple of different things throughout her quilting journey, and we're just going to get to know her a little bit more. So, Jackie, thank you so much for being here.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I always love chatting with you. We always catch each other at shows.
Oh, I know.
And you're normally talking to a few other people. I just tap you on the back. Hey! And then I go on, keep going and looking through quilts.
Well, you should tap me a little harder. We need to chat more.
So can you tell me a little bit about your journey into the quilting industry, kind of how it all started?
Absolutely. It was about 20 years ago, and I went to my first quilt show, the Dallas show.
Okay.
I didn't even know they had quilt shows. And I was so overwhelmed, and I saw the machines, the long arm machines, and I mean, it just blew me away.
Yeah.
And so I joined a guild.
Okay.
And I just started making friends that had the same desire I had. And then I came to Linda's.
Okay.
And I purchased a gamel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, let me back up. I went into business first.
Okay.
Then I purchased my gamel. And it just started from there. I started quilting quilts and for myself and my sisters, and just to get some practice.
Yeah.
I would show them at the guild, and then I started getting customers. So, and it just built from there. And then they started putting them in shows. They would tell me, and I'm, oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Oh.
But they started winning ribbons, and this was maybe 5 years in.
Okay.
And it just grew from there. And so I eventually wanted to get into designing patterns for the long arms, so I did that.
Okay.
And now I'm digitizing patterns and teaching.
Okay.
I love teaching.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I understand that.
Yeah. It's such a reward, when you can take someone from nothing
Right.
to being able to quilt their quilt.
It's an amazing feeling.
It is.
For sure.
It is.
And when you
yes.
see that light bulb go off in their head, it's one of those things you can actually see.
Yes.
And unless you've taught before, you don't really know that feeling. But it's that look that they give when they're like, I got it.
Right.
And it's like it's just an overwhelming feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah, as a
exactly.
teacher. That's amazing.
Yes.
So I want to talk about the fact that you said you didn't know there were any quilt shows around. So how did you find out about the Dallas show 20 years ago? Like, were you just searching through things?
I was just, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I really don't remember.
It's a different way of searching, too, 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. But I did find out about the Dallas show, and I thought, well, that's something I want to check out. I've always been interested in quilts.
Right.
And, I've sewn ever since I was probably, since I could walk, probably.
Okay.
My grandmother, I have to mention her.
Yes.
She was a professional seamstress who sewed for movie stars.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. And she was the best. And she sewed for Bob Hope's wife, for Jim Neighbor's mother, Kay Starr.
Wow.
I know some people might know these people and some won't, know, because it's been a long, long time. But the Lennon sisters, Jackie D. Shannon.
Wow.
All these people, and she got kissed on the cheek by Elvis Presley.
Oh, all right.
I know. But she taught me how to sew.
Okay.
And but my other grandmother, she was a quilter. And, of course, they hand-pieced and hand-quilted back then. And I was just always fascinated by them. And so that's kind of what brought me in, is just the fascination of the quilts.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you went into business before you purchased your machine to do long-arm quilting. Were you, when you were first kind of going through that process, did you always want to go into business doing this, or were you starting slowly as a hobby and then you just jumped right into business?
Yeah, I jumped.
Really?
I jumped, and I jumped hard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I jumped hard. Okay.
I mean, when you have a price tag of a machine, you've got to make it work.
For sure.
So, and that's exactly what I did, is I made it work. It was a journey. It was a long journey.
Yeah.
But you're not going to succeed unless you get out there and do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's a
yeah.
really good piece of advice.
Yes.
Just kind of take the leap
You have to, yes.
and jump hard.
Yes. Whether you're quilting for the public or whether you're quilting for yourself,
Right.
you have to take that leap and you have to practice.
Yeah. So speaking of just leaping and just, jumping into it, when did you want to like start designing your own patterns? What was kind of that aha moment that are you not finding the right things? Were you wanting to do your own stuff? Kind of what took you into that? Because I know we sell quite a few of your pantograph patterns, and the people love your designs.
Oh, wow. That's good to hear.
They love them, trust me. I love them too.
I have a lot more that y'all don't have that you need.
I need to get in that.
Yeah.
But so what kind of started that journey of I want to design my own patterns?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I think what it was is I wanted to experiment with it. And so I had Adobe Illustrator,
Okay.
and I taught myself how to use what I needed to be able to do what I needed to
Right,
do.
'cause
Okay.
There's so many tools in that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much I don't know
I
about
understand.
Illustrator,
Yeah.
but I taught myself how to actually make the line designs and make them continuous, and I did a couple of them. Well, my first one I did, I think it was Wandering Hearts, I think.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I kind of like that. So
Yeah.
let me see if I could do another one. So I just continued to do that. And I did it for quite a few years. Y'all got the first bunch of it. And then I just put it aside.
Yeah.
I concentrated more on quilting for the public and teaching. And I've gotten back into it. And now I've got, I think, like 60 patterns.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I need to get over there and check out the website because I
yeah.
need more designs. And you've got
Yeah.
beautiful things. Puddles
Thank
in the
you.
Rain is my favorite design.
Oh, mine too.
I love
Puddles
that
Puddles
pattern.
in the Rain and Easy Gliding.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Both
yes.
of those
Uh-huh.
are, but yeah, Puddles
Yeah.
in the Rain I can use for so many different things.
Absolutely.
And the spacing in between the design work, sometimes it's really good at eating up fullness
Uh-huh.
in quilts.
Uh-huh.
And so it just makes the quilt
Yeah.
sing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's
yeah.
by far my favorite pattern. I just had to let you know that.
Well, that's so good to hear. Oh my gosh.
So, in the idea of designing, when you're looking at your overall quilting journey, do you quilt and piece? Do you just like to quilt? Do you like to piece? Like for me, I'm not a big piecer. I don't have the patience for it, but I have a lot of, which is weird because I have a lot of patience for quilting a quilt for 4 weeks, but I can't piece a quilt that I could probably do in the weekend.
Yeah. I
So what about
get
you?
it. I get it. I like to piece.
Okay.
I made this quilt from
You did
start
this
to
one
finish.
behind
Yeah.
us?
Oh yeah. This is mine.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you made this.
Oh yes.
Oh.
This is from start to finish.
Wow.
So it's got a lot of applique. I love applique. It relaxes me.
Yeah.
But when it came to put it together, it sat for quite a few years because, you got this going on and that going on, new things come up. And so you have to set something aside.
Yeah.
And then once I did get it pieced together, then it was a thing of where, and this is how it goes for me with piecing.
Okay.
I don't actually, to answer your question, I don't actually get to piece.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Because I'm into other things. I like to design whole cloths.
I love a whole cloth quilt.
Yes.
I love
yes,
a whole cloth.
Yes. Well, I brought some. So
Ooh, we'll have to insert in some photos of them. Yeah.
So I really am enjoying that right now, and I can piece, and I do enjoy it when I
Yeah.
can, but I can't have distractions.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you're designing out a whole cloth or working with something as elegant as a really intense applique quilt, your mind is in that.
It is.
That's really where you're focusing
is,
on. And
yes.
if you take one step away, then I don't know about you, but I lose my train of thought of where I was going with that custom whole cloth design.
Exactly.
And then I got to spend time sitting there looking at it again, coming up with what I knew I had when I shouldn't have stepped away.
Oh, trust me, I know. I'll be halfway into creating a design, and I just have to just back off.
Yeah.
Because I have to let my mind rest. And then I might go back a week or two later, and it's, okay, I can finish this now, and I may have a whole different look on it.
Whole different viewpoint. Yeah, I
Yeah,
find
yeah.
myself stepping away from that design. Even though I don't like to step off, you do make a very good point that you do need to let your mind rest.
You do.
Because eventually you just start to get overwhelmed. I
Even
know
when you're
I do.
quilting. you
Even when
need
you're
to-
quilting it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have to walk away from it. And then I come back and I've got a different perspective on it. And I want to add something different, which is a good thing and a bad thing, especially when you're in the middle of a quilt. And you're like, oh, man, that would have looked so good at the top of the quilt, but now I'm midway through.
Trust me, I know. I'm working on a quilt right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I should have done this instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that quite often.
Yeah, me
but then I'm
too.
like, you know what? I'm committed. I've got to do it. And I can do that other idea on the next one.
Exactly.
So I always have to
Exactly.
write them down, though,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to make sure. Do you have a favorite like style of quilting? Modern, traditional, applique?
Okay, so when I first started quilting, I wasn't really into modern
Okay.
quilting.
Okay.
I was more into traditional heirloom.
Yeah.
I love heirloom quilting.
Heirloom's beautiful.
And but over the years, I got into modern, and I like to throw a little bit of heirloom or traditional in with modern.
Yes.
And I think that's a good look. And you can't do that to every quilt, though.
No.
So you have to pick and choose,
Yeah.
how you're going to quilt the quilt.
So when you're designing those quilts and figuring out how you want to quilt it, what's your creative process? Like I probably sketch out probably more than I should about what I want to design or where I want something to go in. But are you using a software? Do you have like a light box where you're drawing over a picture? Are you using dry erase sheets? How are you looking at that quilt to get that quilt to speak to you on how you want to quilt it?
Okay, I want to take you through the process.
I want to hear
okay?
all of everything. I'm getting comfortable. If I had popcorn, I would.
Well, I hope it's not going to be that long. But, so when I get a customer's quilt, they bring it and, they fill out their sheet and everything, and I don't even look at it. I put it on a hanger.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
And I don't really look at it when I get ready to quilt it. I put it on my machine.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It goes right on my machine.
Okay.
I figure, I did used to study them and say, oh, I'm going to quilt this here and I'm going to do that there. And then once I got it on the machine, it's like, it all changed for me.
Yeah.
But my process is get it on the machine and get it stabilized. And what I mean by that is maybe stitch in the ditch.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair.
All the way down and stitch it off
Okay.
of that 1 liter. So you can roll it back and forth.
Right.
As I'm doing that, that's when I process kind of what I'm going to do.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, the quilt actually starts to say, "Hey, this is what I need here,"
Right.
because you're actually setting areas down.
You're kind of setting it up for what you're going to put.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay.
And that works best for me to do
Okay.
it that way.
I see where you're going with it. I don't know if I'd be that brave. 'Cause I like to map it out. I have to have a blueprint of what I'm going to do. Again, that blueprint changes all the time. But I have to have that initial, this looks good, and then I can go from there. But I think when you're setting that and stitching it down, you're also forcing your brain to start working on how you want to think
Yes,
about
and
it.
I'm working from top to bottom
Yeah.
on the quilt.
Yeah.
My brain is working on how I'm going to quilt this. Now, again, just like you said, sometimes, when I do get into a block in an area, it might change.
Yeah.
So, but, I think this is one of the things that I always tell my students.
Okay.
What is the worst thing that can happen if you don't like the design or it doesn't turn out? You take out the stitches.
Yeah, you take out the stitches.
I
You got to
know.
do some reverse quilting.
Yes, yes.
I wish it came out as fast as it goes into the quilt, but that's neither here nor
I
there.
think we all wish that, but yeah. So and trust me, I have taken out a lot, especially about the first 5 years.
Yeah.
I felt like that's all I was doing.
Was just
is
taking it
taking
out.
out stitches.
Yeah.
And I finally had to tell myself, stop.
Yeah.
Because if you stitch something in one area and you say, oh, I don't like that, well, continue. Because it's actually going to start to blend in with everything else that you quilt.
Right.
And more than likely, you can go back and take it out after you've done that, but more than likely you won't.
Right.
Yeah.
I find when I think the biggest thing and the not misconception, that's not the right word, but the hardest thing for someone to get by is when you are long arm quilting a quilt, you are right over the top of it and you can see every little quote unquote mistake that is there. The second you take it off the frame and you hang it up and just look at it, you'd be very surprised that it's actually fine, if not amazing, because you're not right over it. I'm looking into the mic right now. Like, you're not with a microscope on that one stitch that didn't hit the exact point.
You're so right about that. And that's what, when I teach, people want to quilt like I quilt. And it didn't happen overnight for me.
Right.
And it's not going to happen overnight for anybody else. You have to practice. And just like you said, you're right there. And you have to let that go. You have to stand up and walk back and look at it at a distance.
And you're like, oh, I did that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm good.
You know what I do? Is like I'll crawl up underneath my machine, especially if it's a backing that you can see the stitching really well. I'll crawl up under the machine and look up, and that will tell me, hey, I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah. I've done many of times where I'll get on the floor and I have to turn off the lights because otherwise you see all the little stitching holes. But I'll turn off the lights and I'll have the flashlight and I'll just look up and be like, whoa. All right, like you said, I'm on the right path. Something is looking correct. I'm doing good. On the top, when I'm hovering, it's not so much, but even 4 feet away when I'm laying down, it's like, I've got it.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing. But it's definitely something you do have to get over. What is one of the as an amazing quilter that you are, what is one of like the biggest challenges that you've run into when long arm quilting, and how did you overcome it? If you have one.
Show quilts.
Okay.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little pressure, especially when you know they're going to be a show quilt.
Right.
But, I treat every quilt equally. It's I put everything I have into them.
Yeah.
Whether I quilt light or real dense, whether it's a show quilt or a bed quilt, I just feel that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I think it's my grandmother too, because she always told me, if you can't do it right, don't do it.
Fair. Yeah, fair call.
So, show quilts are kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
And because I spend more time on them, and they're very, very dense.
Yes.
And
I love dense quilting. That's why I'm attracted to your quilting. I love dense
too.
quilting.
I do too. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't, but it's
okay.
It's okay. Yeah, absolutely. But I love it. But anyways,
So getting over that. Yeah, I had a mentor of mine that always told me, kind of just like what you said. She told me always treat each quilt like it's a show quilt, especially if you're quilting for customers, because you have no idea if you're going to wrap the corner at the show and there your quilt is hanging up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll be walking a show and it's like I'll walk and I'll go past a quilt that I quilted and I'm like,
you
well,
do a
that
double
looks.
take,
I know.
This looks familiar.
Oh, I quilted that.
So speaking of show quilts, when was the first time that you entered a quilt into a quilt show, and what show was it?
Me?
Yes.
My quilt?
Your personal quilt, yeah.
This one right here.
Really?
Yes.
This was the first, okay.
No, I'm sorry. Wasn't the first, but I do have a story of the first one that I did.
I would love to hear
it.
Yes.
Okay. The first one was a quilt that I didn't have a long arm.
Okay.
At the time, but I wanted to make a quilt. So I went into my sewing room and I started gathering fabric and, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this here and that there. I didn't know anything about quilting at that point. And so I pieced it all together and it was, big pieces, get done quick.
Yep.
And so then I wanted to quilt it on my sewing machine. And I thought, okay, this is not happening.
Right.
And I do domestic machine quilting now, and I do teach it.
Yes.
But it's like, this is not happening. And so I said, okay, I'm going to hand quilt this quilt.
Oh, wow.
So all I did was marked it with chalk and did straight lines, long stitches.
Fair, but still, the hand quilting alone, yeah.
Yeah. And so I did that, and I swore I would never make another quilt as long as I live.
And here you are today.
I know, right? I know. But somebody talked me in to putting that in the Dallas show.
Okay.
And at this point, then I did have a long arm. It was like a couple of years later, and they said, "Well, put that in a show. Put that in a show." And I'm like, well, no, And they finally talked me into it. And because I was in business, making money on quilting for customers, I had to be that quilt was in the Masters
The
division.
Masters category, yeah.
Guess whose quilting it hung next to?
Oh, I have an idea.
Richard Larson.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I had no idea who Richard Larson was
Yeah.
at the time. And looking at his and then seeing mine right next to it, I was kind of embarrassed. But it's a funny story now.
But you did it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
put it in. You
Yeah.
jumped. You took the leap.
Yeah.
You jumped hard.
I jumped hard again. Yes, yes.
And you did
But,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So this was the first one that you entered into a show that besides that one.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And what awards? Because I would hope this has won some awards. So what awards has this?
I've only put
quilt
this
won?
in 2 shows.
Okay.
I put it in the Plano show, and it won Best of Show.
Okay.
And I've got the ribbon for that.
Is it this one?
Yes, it's that one right there.
Pretty.
Yep, Best of Show. And then I put it in the Dallas show, and it won honorable mention, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, the other quilts, I mean, were pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was your first quilt that won Best of Show? That I guess you didn't enter in. One of your customers might have
Customers,
entered in.
probably, yeah. And that would be Linda Neal, one of Linda Neal's quilts.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I've quilted so many of hers that I don't know.
Which one is it? So what was that feeling like? Because that was your first Best of Show.
Oh, my
right?
gosh.
So what was that feeling when you heard about, or did you just walk into the show and see it hanging there and you went,
Well,
who did,
well, I would usually walk into the show and see it,
Yeah.
go look for it.
Yeah.
But Linda would always usually call me and
Right.
say, "Hey, we got
Guess
Best of
what?
Show."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's always real exciting.
Yeah.
And I get on the phone and call every relative I know.
100%. As would I. As would
yeah,
I.
yeah.
That's super
Yeah.
cool. So we looked at the quilt Plano when you did the Best of Show ribbon. What are these other ribbons that you've brought for us? I want to learn more about them.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about this one right here.
Okay.
Okay. So this one here won Best of Show of Road to California.
Okay.
And this was for Harlequin Aid quilt.
Okay.
And this one was made and designed by Becky Pryor. And this one is actually, you can find it on my Instagram or Facebook.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And it is now in the Paducah Museum, Harlequin.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that was probably the most exciting thing ever for me, right
that's
there.
an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
amazing to
Yeah.
end up in the quilt museum.
Well,
there.
that's what this next ribbon is.
Okay.
So you can see Movable Machine Workmanship Award.
From
so-
AQS.
And so that's for Harlequin Aid in Paducah.
Okay.
And so now if you go to the museum, right now they don't have it up.
Okay.
They took it down, I believe, in April. But
Okay.
I'm sure at some point they'll put it back up.
I'm sure it gets
Yeah.
recycled
Yeah.
out with other things.
Yeah. So that was very exciting. I was watching the awards on television.
Yeah.
Because Paducah's is live.
Yes.
And it was, again, I got on the phone.
Right.
calling everybody.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've presented awards at Paducah, and I know that I can just see the feel, so I can only imagine when you're watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's really cool.
yeah.
So what's this other one that you brought for us?
Okay, so this one here is one of the top awards that I've ever gotten.
Okay.
Masterpiece Quilt Award. This is by the National Association of Certified Quilt Judges.
Wow.
So there was a quilt that I quilted for Alice Brown.
Okay.
No relation.
Okay.
Okay. And she was a first-time customer, and she brought me a Baltimore album. And
Baltimore.
the actual name of the quilt is the Baltimore Album.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that's also on Instagram and Facebook, mine.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what happened is this goes to wherever it goes. I don't know where it goes, but it was. I was told there were 5 judges
Okay.
that looked at this quilt front and back.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Dissected it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I don't know how many pages of critiques there were on this.
Oh, yeah.
That they had to go through, but they finally decided that it deserved this award.
That was the one.
So, and it is number 34. So,
Ah.
yeah.
That is so cool. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for bringing these. This has been fun. I'm learning so much more about you. We definitely need to stop more at quilt shows and talk more.
Okay. All right. I'm good
this is
for
really
that.
cool.
I'm good.
So I want to kind of take a segue and talk about business.
Okay.
Okay. So you've mentioned earlier today that you teach classes and you've done quilts for the public. Are you still quilting for the public to this day?
I am. I'm still quilting for the public. I don't do as many custom now as I did before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to push more towards, getting more edge to edge because we know.
Oh, yes.
We know.
That's where the money is.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because custom can take a long time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Harlequin Aid, the one that's in Paducah,
Yeah.
I had that one for a year.
Really?
But I had to take a break from it, so it didn't stay on my machine the whole time.
100%,
So, yeah.
yeah.
So but I want to get more into teaching and designing.
Okay.
Is what I want to do.
So where can folks find out about your teaching and your classes that you offer? Are you offering them in person, online? How does that work?
I do have classes in person, and I do have classes online.
Okay.
I have a beginner feathers class available. I have some free classes available for domestic and long arm.
Okay.
Just little. I don't even know how long they are.
Yeah, but still.
I think 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, that's still good content.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
still really good content.
And I have some domestic machine classes available and long arm classes. So, and I'm getting more into that. But like I said, I've got the beginner's feathers, so I'm trying to take it step by step. So then we're going to go into intermediate feathers,
right.
and then we're going to go into advanced and
Yes.
fancy and
You definitely
all
have to
that good
stair-step
stuff,
it.
you know,
You
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
have to stair-step it
Yes,
in order to
yes.
get the process to lock in.
Right. Well, you have to
build on it.
learn how. Yeah, exactly.
Those foundations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a foundation to it.
Oh, yes.
I had to learn it too.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah.
And then once you have that foundation, then you can morph it to whatever your brain thinks about.
Oh,
when it comes to
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Yes.
So are these available on your website? Do you
yes,
have
these are available on my website.
and what's the website? Go ahead and drop it.
Jackie's Machine Quilting.
Okay. I'll definitely
.com.
make sure I put that in the description
Okay.
below of the places so people
Okay.
know how to find you. But JackiesMachineQuilting.com.
Yes, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Jackie's Machine Quilting as well.
Okay, perfect.
So,
I'll make sure
easy
I put
to
all those
remember.
on there.
Yeah.
It just rolls right off the tongue. So how do you balance the creative design side, pattern design, quilting design of your brain with the classes and business side? Because I know we're in different realms, but I'm doing all these different things with videos and creative, but I still want to do show quilts, and I'm setting these to different sides. So what's your tip for balancing that kind of stuff?
You don't.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wanted to see if I was the only one.
No, you're not the only one. So the best way that I can balance that is I know that I've got to be in my studio during the day, at least 5 days a week. It's not working out that way so much now,
right.
but I'm trying. Working on customers' quilts.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings, after I sit down on the couch, I've got my laptop right next to me.
Yeah.
And that's when I do most of my designing is in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there kind of playing and sketching and figuring
Yeah,
out what the
yeah.
next thing is.
Yeah. Now, if I get stuck on a custom quilt, and we do,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yes. Many of times.
You have to take those breaks.
Yeah.
Then I might start designing.
Yeah.
Working on a design that I've probably been working on a few weeks. So.
Just to kind of take that mental break from the quilt. But I've also found, because I do the same thing too, I step up and I just draw random things. Maybe I'm not particularly designing, but I'm drawing random things to figure out, just unlock something in my brain. But I've also found that I find myself drawing what I actually want on that custom quilt, and I don't even mean to do it. And then it kicks me out of that block that I have on that custom quilt, and then I'm ready to run back to the machine and get going on
Oh,
it.
absolutely. And you're talking about drawing on paper, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely drawing on paper. I've got sketchbooks all over the house.
Oh my
Probably
gosh.
too many.
I
Probably too many.
totally push that. I tell my students, you need to doodle.
That's the way to get through anything.
Yeah,
And you're building that muscle memory too while you're doing that.
And not only that, it's like I've got a book this thick, and my husband made it for me.
Really?
Okay, because I was filling up all the.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
I was using all the paper.
Yep.
So he came home with a book, and it was this thick, and it's got the cover of it is politics, and he said,
okay.
"Here, I made this for you," and I'm like.
Great.
Really? You think I'm
Thanks.
going to read that? So, well, open it up, is what he said. So I opened it up, begrudgingly.
Yeah.
I opened it up, and it's all empty pages. It's a whole ream of paper.
Oh.
But you can also get a ream of paper and punch holes in it and put it in a notebook. And I've got one of those as well.
Yeah.
And, I don't doodle as much as I used to. Every once in a while, I get the urge to do that. Mm-hmm. But, I've got so many doodles right now, and I'll just thumb through them when I get stuck.
Exactly.
And even when I was working on a certain doodle or any doodle, as you're working on it, you're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't
know
think
if this
I'll
is
ever
going
use
anywhere.
that,
Yeah.
But don't throw those away because, I thumb back and it's like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool looking.
Like, this will work. For
Yeah,
this quilt,
yeah,
actually.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Throw it in a binder or have
Yeah.
someone make you a book of a ream of paper. And you tell your husband to get that done. That'd be really, really cool. So the last question that I have for you is, do you have any future goals for your quilting, or are you working on anything in specific that you can share with us? Like that's something that's in the works right now that's supposed to be really cool, or do you have goals for how many patterns you want to end up designing, or kind of what's the future look like for Jackie's Machine Quilting?
Well, the future, I want to have more online courses.
Okay.
I'm really concentrating on that and building my Facebook page.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, having
and-
that more of that social presence.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And again, I love to teach, and the rewards are just unbelievable to
Right.
me for that. But and to design. Those are my goals right there. Is to design.
To design
Yeah,
more, teach
yeah,
a little bit more,
yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of expand that
Yes,
presence. I love
yes.
that.
And I still want to quilt custom quilts
Yeah,
for
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
But I want to be more selective, I think.
Fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot out of you
Yeah.
when you're doing it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here and spending part of your day with me. I really,
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. It's been cool to learn more about your journey and your goals and the different designs that you offer and the classes that you offer that I didn't know about. I'm going to have to look at that as well.
Okay.
Because that's
Well,
just fun.
Thanks for having me.
You
This
are
was fun.
so welcome again. So thank you all so much for listening and watching here at the podcast. You can follow Jackie online at Jackie's Machine Quilting. I'll also have it linked in the descriptions below. And I will see you all next time here at the podcast. Bye.